In this video, we're going to discuss how to set up Oracle database masking using Actifio with the DataVeil masking software. So obviously our goal here is to perform data masking, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to test this manually and how to demonstrate ad hoc masking. We'll also be in a future video showing how to do this using direct mount and live clone. Now, obviously what we need is a source database that we can mask. This will be our production database. In a production sense, we would normally need at least 3 servers here. Now, obviously we have a production database running a production server. On the production side, we would have a masking server also on the production side where we're going to mount our virtual copy of that production database and mask it. And once we've done that, we can then take that masked database and share it with a non-production user in the development side. If you're doing this as a proof of concept, then you obviously don't need to have 3 servers. You could just run with 1, but obviously in production you would never do masking on a production server. So if we think about databases in terms of names, there's really what I call the 3 stages of life. There's the production name. So the database is running on a production server. It has a production name. When we present it to the masking server, we can change the SID, and we should do so to clearly differentiate that this is no longer going to be an exact copy of the production server. So in my example, the database is called prod. When we mount it to the master server, we're going to call it cprod. And then once we've masked it, we can mount it to our non-production server and we'll call it mprod. Now remember, these are just names. And obviously if you're doing this in a POC where you're using a single server, you absolutely need to do this. Otherwise you're going to get rather confused. So if we're doing this with DataVeil, the first thing we need to do is unzip our DataVeil software into our masking server. Now for Linux, you'll need to decide which folder you put it into because this is just a straight unzip. There's no installer. I chose to put it in /opt, but you might think that there's a more appropriate place. Now it does require JRE 1.8, so run Java --version to check your version, and if necessary, upgrade it. Once we've done that, we can then mount our production database to the masking server using that middle name. So if the database in production is called prod, then you would mount it as, say, cprod. Now we start our DataVeil exe. Now I'm going to, if you see this in the demonstration in a future video, you'll see that I use the X11 app to do this. If you haven't licensed DataVeil, you'll need to do so. And note where you put the license file because we'll need to know that later. And then obviously we need to connect DataVeil to the Oracle database. Now, unlike SQL, you will need to provide a username and password. And then obviously select your rows and tables and create a project and save the project. And note where you save that project with its file name and also what its key was. Now, on the masking server itself, we also need one shell script. So in addition to everything I just talked about, the DataVeil software with its license and project file, we need to install the shell script, and we get that from GitHub. Now, for this example, we don't need any scripts on the source host or the target host. Remember the left and the right in that 3 stages of life. We're talking here only about the middle host. So we need to get a shell script, and that's used by the workflow to automate the process of masking. So this shell script has a single line in it that starts DataVeil. Now you can split this up using backslashes. What I've done here is just made it easy to differentiate the 5 parts that you'll need to customize using color. So in red you've got the path to the DataVeil exe. You'll notice I put it in /opt. In blue you've got the name of the project file. In green you've got the key that you created when you saved the project. In orange, the log file path. Now this is optional, but I strongly recommend you do logging. And in this example, I'm logging to opt DataVeil log. I had to make that log folder. And then your license file. And in this example, it's in opt DataVeil user files. And again, I've made that folder user files. Once we've customized our script, put it on the masking server into /act/scripts/dvmask.sh. Now you can call it anything you like, but it has to be in /act/scripts. You can't put it in another folder because that's the only place the workplace process looks when it runs a post script. But as I say, you can call it anything you like. In my example, it's called dvmask.sh. And then once we're ready, we can test the shell script. Now I'll give you a word of warning here. The word test is possibly a little misleading because what we've done is we've mounted the copy of the production database. We've created our project. We've customized our shell script. We're now going to test that script. So we literally run dvmask.sh space test. And what this should do, provided the cprod database is still mounted, is it should run the masking process. And you should be able to look in the DataVeil log file. Remember, we defined that in our customization. And you should be able to confirm that good masking has occurred. Obviously, if it didn't work, we need to debug it. Okay, thanks for your time. In a future video, you'll be able to also see me follow this whole process, literally see it, and we'll also, in another video, we'll talk about how to do this using a live clone and direct mount.